And thanks for staying with us, everyone. The Prempeh, the first international airport in Kumasi, has commenced operations for domestic flights. Passengers traveling through the revamped facility have expressed satisfaction, citing swift procedures that considerably reduce wait times compared to the previous terminal. Despite the encouraging start, management clarified that no international flights have been slated to operate from the premises yet. Nevertheless, plans seem underway to expand services gradually over time. Nana Wachiyadom was at the airport and has filed this report.
So on May 10th, President Akufo-Addo, assisted by the Asante Hinotumfo Seitutu II, commissioned the Prempeh First International Airport. Well, effective today, July 1st, the airport is operationalized for domestic flight or domestic use. And so there are 2 domestic flights currently operating here at the Prempeh First International Airport. And so this is the departure hall of the Prempeh First International Airport. And this is how the place looks like. The departure hall has passengers seated on my right and a number of them also seated on my left. You can see behind me is for check-ins, and then that is where we have the Africa World Airlines also passing. And so this is the departure hall of the Prempeh First International Airport. Up there is where we have the arrival and then boarding alongside screening for passengers.
This is a good experience, especially unlike the past where you have to go land in Kotaka before you make further arrangement for your flight outside the country. Now it's easy, right from Kumasi, you go wherever you want to go. And in fact, just about 6 months down the line, when you compare the operations to what we're seeing now, even the ambience we have here, the services, the flight attendants and these airline operators are given, it's superb. It's great to have this in Kumasi. No, you need not to, if you don't have a house or a place to live in Accra, straight from Kumasi you go wherever you're going. Unlike the past, you have to have some hotel arrangements or people who would either have to resort to friends and other people before they can secure their luggages. You know, when you're traveling, anything can happen at the port.
It's much more, nicer than before. It looks much more luxurious. You look at the infrastructure, the aesthetics, it's pleasing. It's really pleasing. So I think it's commendable. They should keep up the good work, and more people are going to use it as time goes on. Yeah, it felt surreal. Like, oh, this is the dead Kumasi Airport. Oh, this is really beautiful. It felt really welcoming. Yeah.
During a tour inside the new terminal, the managing director of the Ghana Airport Company, Yvonne Nana Efriye Opare, indicated that measures are being put in place for international airlines to kickstart operations.
Airlines no kasa sisi enti
let's give ourselves some time. We are in talks with international airlines. We are negotiating with them, and very soon we will announce a date. At this point, let's take good care of the facility. This is for us to protect. We have customer service here to assist passengers.
Customer service personnel Monfa Emrana yen shed the way I no.
So as it is open for domestic flights today and subsequently for international flights, about 800,000 passengers are expected to use the facility annually. Kumasi Yensuye Nyayezi from the Prempeh First International Airport. My name is Nana Wachiyadom.
Meanwhile, some aviation sector players are calling on government to further consider expanding investments. According to Managing Director for Aviation Ghana, Mark Camus, more airlines are interested in operating in Ghana, hence the need for more investments in infrastructure. He spoke to Joy Business at the launch of Aviation Ghana's new lounge at the Kotoka International Airport.
I think in terms of growth, I don't think you'll see too much growth coming from Accra. I think it's pretty saturated. But what you will see is airlines that have been well established here, like British Airways, increasing flights from 7 to 11 flights. You'll see Kenya Airways increasing the market from like a 737 to a 7A. And you'll see the likes of Ethiopian also increasing and making Accra into a hub. So there's some really exciting times for Accra ahead. I think, look, we always see the government as more of a partnership on how we can develop, and we're very excited always to work with the ministers in terms of aviation and hospitality. We've always had so much support, which we're very grateful for. We are a Ghanaian company. We've just hired over 1,000 extra employees, 200 employees extra in November 2023. So certainly Aviation is doing its bit to stimulate the market. Yeah, I think, look, we're always looking for the government support, and I think where that could be is we could look at facilities better, infrastructure. I think the Accra Airport today is probably nearly at capacity, could do a bit more. So I think from a government perspective, what we would be looking at for is investment in infrastructure.
Now, government says it will make land banks available to private developers to reduce Ghana's housing deficit. Works and Housing Minister Kojo Oponkumah says government will also explore ways of introducing tax waivers on imported machines for large-scale construction projects. He was speaking at the second phase of the Ogransen housing project.
Solutions for more affordable housing options for urban dwellers continue to be a challenge for the Ghanaian government. Despite this, Ghana's housing deficit witnessed a 33% reduction from 2.8 million in 2010 to 1.8 million in 2021, partly attributable to the real estate boom and the 72.8% increase in residential structures within the period. Minister for Works and Housing, Kojo Oponkumah, reiterated government's position to deepen private and public partnership.
In February this year, my boss asked me to look at the sector and come back to him on what we can do to quickly close this gap. And after I sat with all the technocrats, it became quite clear that the public sector and the private sector need to work together in a PPP framework, a public-private partnership, to deliver on the housing units that we require. My heart bleeds for developers like Michael, because you have to buy your own land. Try and get off land guards or other people who are getting the land away from you. You have to buy your own materials, the cost of cement, the cost of iron rods. You have to pay taxes on all of those. And then you have to find affordable construction finance to develop. Everybody's talking about affordable housing, but if we leave you on your own to do all of this, by the time you are done, that affordable housing unit will not be affordable. In fact, as we sit here, we ask ourselves, how many of our average Ghanaians can buy the properties that are here? And so what we've done is that we have put together what we call a public-private partnership framework with an incentives package aimed at supporting the private sector so that they can deliver on the affordable housing that they are looking for. And in this public-private partnership, government is going to be making land banks available to private developers. Government is going to go to Parliament to ask Parliament to give tax waivers on imported machines and materials for large-scale construction projects.
Chief Executive Officer of Sukasa Properties, Michael Kopena Ogransen, said the private sector is ready to collaborate with government on reducing Ghana's housing deficit.
It's going perfectly. We're having a great time. There are challenges as expected. We're not expecting to have no challenges, but these challenges are not insurmountable challenges. So, phase 2, as you are aware, you're here today in the flesh. We're all here to commission phase 2, which we call the number 2 Grandson communities. We've taken a walk through phase 3, which is also under construction. We want to say to all of our customers, all of our well-wishers, stakeholders, that patience is key.
Now, the Telecoms Chamber of Ghana and the Institute of ICT Professionals are calling for concerted effort to make the teaching of ICT real in basic schools. They argue that hands-on training and learning of subjects such as coding, software development, and other digital skills will equip the next generation with the needed skills to stay competitive. There is more in this report on the Coding Caravan, an initiative to teach people coding and other computer programming impacted programming skills in the southern district of the Volta region.
The Coding Caravan, a digital skills education campaign that aims to equip students with digital skills such as computer programming, Internet of Things, and more, began over 5 years ago. The initiative, which is powered by the Institute of ICT Professionals and the Ghana Telecoms Chamber, aims to enlighten school-going children in Ghana to benefit from ICT, science, technology, engineering, and mathematics. The initiative also trains teachers in the various districts the Coding Caravan visits to ensure the continuity of the project. The visit to the South Tongue district is the third project to be undertaken this year. Dr. Engineer Ken Ashigbe is the CEO of the Telecoms Chamber.
We needed to build the human resource of this country in readiness for today. And the fact that our children needed to understand the whole conversation around coding, AI, big data, all the new things that we needed. And we also then realized that it was easy for the kids in Accra, Kumasi, Cape Coast to be able to do this. But what would happen to the kids in some of the districts, some of the villages and all? So we then decided that we're going to go into the districts and we're going to choose the public schools and we were going to teach them coding.
The Coding Caravan appeals to corporate Ghana to assist in reaching students across the length and breadth of the country.
We're hoping that next year through the platforms like multimedia, we will also get corporate Ghana to support like what C-Squared has done.
David Go, Executive Director of the Institute of ICT Professionals Ghana, explains how the Coding Caravan plans to equip each school-going child in Ghana with computer programming skills.
The end goal is to make sure that we are able to create coding clubs in schools. Young people are able to engage in coding competitions. We are able to come up with innovations, and then we are able to, build up from there. So even young people in schools can actually start coming up with some solutions that investors and others can collaborate with them and build solutions for our country and Africa at large.
C-Squared, a member of the Telecoms Chamber, details why the Telecoms Infrastructure Company decided to sponsor the South Tongue edition.
It's also about imparting the kids to get them ready for the future, to have a focus in ICT, coding, and be able to find a career in that space as well. So it's not just C-Squared giving back or getting some publicity from this, but also imparting the community like Sogakope, the kids in Sogakope, to be able to have coding as a career path that they can pursue in future.
Traditional rulers of the various traditional areas in the Southern district could not hide their amazement. Some of the pupils who took part in the training spoke to Joy Business.
I learned the phases of the scratch interface, and I learned how to make a toy dance in the interface.
I've learned how to program a traffic light, and I'm excited. I want you to continue doing this because you are helping us and I like it.
Now, the British Council is calling for the addition of entrepreneurship in the curriculum of all second cycle institutions in Ghana. According to a report by the World Bank, over 110,000 students graduate each year from tertiary institutions. Deputy Director of Programs and Partnerships at the British Council, Richard Kwesi Shiangbo, believes encouraging startups and entrepreneurs will reduce the country's unemployment rate. He spoke at the UK Alumni Dialogue event and networking session to commemorate the British Council's 80 years of existence in Ghana.
Over the past 80 years, the British Council Ghana has achieved numerous milestones, including investment in developing Ghana's human capital through scholarship initiatives and support for entrepreneurial efforts of the youth. The socio-economic impact cannot be overstated, as the Council has held various support programs in the creative economy, the technical and vocational space, and special support for community and entrepreneurial projects. Speaking to Joy Business at the Alumni Dialogues event, Director of Programs and Partnerships at the British Council, Richard Kwesi Shiangbo, called for a massive entrepreneurship drive in tertiary institutions to create entrepreneurs to reduce the rate of unemployment in the country.
Our educational system should not always churn out graduates to come and be looking for jobs. At least they must be able to inculcate curriculums, that international curriculum that tells the student, or that tells the let's say the potential a graduate, that when you are coming out from school, there are pools of unemployed people in the system already. You must make a difference. So entrepreneurship puts you ahead of your colleagues who do not even have any skills in entrepreneurship. So entrepreneurship is very key. So that's why we are calling for all tertiary institutions to inculcate entrepreneurship curriculum in their schools.
He details the impact of the British Council in Ghana in the past 80 years.
So we are having impact in the Ghanaian youth and the Ghanaian economy. When you go to most of the industry players, for instance, we have what they call the UK Ghana Chamber of Commerce. When you go to this institution or these industry players, you have a lot of UK alumni in there. They are contributing their quota, they are learning skills. That means the student-centered approach, skills of learning. So in Ghana, for instance, there's an issue for us to shift from the teacher-centered approach, that to the pedagogy of learning, to more a student-centered approach that can develop the cognitive skills, the critical thinking, and the entrepreneurial skills of our young ones. And this research truly shows you that our alumni are doing great jobs in their society.
The theme of the celebration is 80 years of building connections, understanding and trust, turning legacies and lessons into innovation and impact.
Now, the German Development Corporation improve employment services and has donated vehicles and equipment to the Labour Department of the Ministry of Employment and Labour Relations. According to coordinator of the GIZ, Ghana's Sustainable Economic Cluster, William Hugo, the support is aimed at enhancing the operational capabilities of the department to promote employment.
The donation by the German Development Corporation in partnership with the European Union to 5 regions in the country is aimed at improving the overall functionality of the public employment centers. The items donated included vehicles, IT equipment, and furniture. Coordinator of GIZ Ghana's Sustainable Economic Cluster, Wilhelm Hugo, said the initiative will contribute to the creation of a robust labor market in the country.
And of course, I would like to visit you all in the 4 regions that are also getting cars. Together with my dear colleague Andreas. Very much looking forward to see you not only here in Accra, but of course also in the regions. Very much looking forward to the continuous fruitful cooperation between the Ministry, German Development Corporation, German Embassy and the EU delegation.
Minister of Employment and Labour Relations Ignatius Bafwewa urged the workers to uphold a good maintenance culture.
You may be aware, especially for those of you who are coming from the regions, that we are also facilitating